Howdy folks, it's the Tall Turtle here and welcome back. This time it's X-Plane 11. We have a subscriber request to fly around the Faroe Islands. I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. I was originally going to do a comparison video where we did X-Plane and then Microsoft Flight Simulator in the same area. However, this airport does not exist in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, which is very strange because the nav data is up to date with each update in that airplane. But I guess the airport library must be different. I guess. Not sure about that. So we're not going to do comparison, which is fine because I'm kind of sick of comparison videos. I did my big comparison video and it's just like, it's to each their own thing. You know what I mean? People want different things out of each simulator, or all the simulators, or more than two. People want different things, and that's, I even said that in my video. I just wanted to point some things out. So anyway, here we are back in X-Plane 11. That's all we're going to talk about today, finally, for once. I know some of you have been missing X-Plane 11. My original plan, and the reason why it took me so long to get to this request, was because I was going to, hang on, screenshot opportunity. I was going to fly here from somewhere else. But the next closest airport is really far away, and I just don't have time these days to do long, well, I can do long flights if I can let it sit, right? But this was supposed to be a sightseeing trip, so letting it sit and then landing and not even looking at the islands, it would take too much real life time. So we're just going to do a sightseeing trip starting at the islands, flying around the islands, and landing at the islands. So the subscriber didn't really specify what they had in mind. It's just in my mind, I was going to do this really long flight from like Great Britain or Iceland or something. Then I'm like, wait a minute, that's going to take like 3 hours. So we're doing this instead. But I just wanted to say that's why it took me so long to get to this flight, was because I was waiting for time to do a long flight. Just like I have another subscriber request that's been sitting in my list for a long time, but it's like a 650 mile flight, you know, which will take a couple hours even in a jet. So that one is going to have to wait as well. But anyway, here we are today in X-Plane in the Faroe Islands. I did some research before I started this, and like I usually do, especially when I have a subscriber request. I'll research an area, that type of thing. And Faroe Islands, official language is Faroese, which I thought was cool. I read about the islands. I forgot what government control it's under. It seems to have changed quite a bit, and that's probably why I forgot. But I read a lot about it. Seems like a really awesome place to be, and gorgeous. Even in X-Plane, it's gorgeous. This terrain is doing a great job with this. And I apologize, I don't remember more about it. I did read about it, I promise, but this isn't a history lesson or anything. It's an X-Plane lesson. So all I can say is I encourage you yourselves to read about the islands. I knew where they were, though. My world geography is really darn good, especially for someone from the United States who doesn't even know where England is half the time. Although all you flight sim folks, I assume, are all pretty good at geography in general, just because that's the demographic. But yes, I knew where these islands were before I looked them up. So just want my subscriber to know I know where your islands are before I looked them up. Alrighty, enough introduction. That was actually pretty short for a turtle introduction, wasn't it? Anyway, let's hop inside, and I don't have my checklist with me because it's in a folder in my studio that was being moved around, so we're going to do the best we can without a checklist. Shut the door. There it is. Shutting the door, getting used to my camera controls. Let's hop down here. Turn on battery and alt. They come on together here. Turn on the strobe for this. Put up the fuel. Fuel is always on automatically. Turn on the pumperoni and start it up. And turn down my personal volume because that is probably bleeding into your volume. All right. Good. All right. What else we need to do? That's about it, really. Avionics. No flight plan. We're just going to fly around the island. That's all. I'm just going to fly around the island. Yeah, that seems too easy. Do we have lights? We have lights in here, right? Let's turn on the panel lights. No, we're not going to get panel lights. Radio lights. What? It says radio and panel lights. How come they don't work? Is that a Vulcan thing? We are in Vulcan, by the way. which means I'm screen recording because I cannot get my Bandicam. Yeah, the lights aren't working. Look. That must be a Vulcan thing. What the heck? Okay. Did I forget a light switch, like a master light switch? No, clear shield, pedestal, radio, and panel. I'm going both ways on the mouse. There we go. Okay, it's working a little bit. It's just very subtle. Watch. See how subtle that is? I don't even know if you're going to see that once YouTube messes with it. They're okay, so they're working. It's just incredibly subtle. Alrighty. I'm gonna say something. Forgot. What was I gonna say? I don't remember. But let's get our clock ready to go here. Let's hop outside, which is this thing, and first set of flaps down, and parking brake off, and let's get rolling. Yeah, I completely forgot what I was gonna say. When I watch the video, I'm sure I'll remember, but I cannot remember. Alright, Rule Brother is turned off because right now it's completely fogged in with 14 knot winds plus gusts. So not flyable for VFR and not very nice for a Cessna. So Rule Brother's turned off. I just put in some clouds with our SkyMax Pro. And if version 4 mesh is available for this area, I've already installed it. Otherwise, that's it. I run X-Plane very trim and lean. I've only spent money on SkyMax Pro and a few aircraft for nostalgic reasons. Otherwise, I run it pretty lean. Oh, I remember. We are in Vulcan, so we're screen recording, which means we're losing 12 frames per second because my Bandicam will not hook to Vulcan in X-Plane. I tried some other demo games that run Vulcan, and it hooks to those just fine. So Bandicam will hook to Vulcan in general, but for some reason, it won't hook to Vulcan in X-Plane. So I have to do screen recording method, which takes so much resources, so many resources, that it takes so many frames per second. Now, Bandicam in game recording mode only takes 1 frame per second, if any sometimes. Like in Microsoft Flight Simulator, 0 performance loss with Bandicam recording in game mode. And I used to record X-Plane in game mode as well, with like a 3 frame per second hit. But I can't anymore. So when I do screen recording for Vulcan with Bandicam, it's like a 12 frame hit. So I don't know. We are in the 40s though. I did test before oversensitive rudder pedals. Good grief. I did test my frames before recording, and we were in the 40s while recording. But still, it's frustrating. All right, step on the brakes. Whoa, step on the brakes. And bring the flaps in. And the first thing I'm noticing after doing so much Flight Simulator Microsoft is my controls are way too sensitive in X-Plane. I need to tone them down. However, it's very easy. It's much easier already. Just this climb out is so much easier. But you got to remember, Microsoft Flight Simulator, there's always all these winds and turbulent winds and everything affecting the plane. So that's a huge difference. Where this, if you have no wind, it's just still this ice, this glass. But that's okay. We're not going to compare the simulators. We're going to enjoy. Don't compare. I was just spending so much time with the other one. All right, trimming down for some more speed, because we're not going to climb out too high. I don't really care that much about climbing out that high. Wow, very smooth, gorgeous. So let's see, where are we going to go? I think we're going to head over some islands. Let's pull out our map. We're going to head out over here and just fly one of these fjords and then come back. I want to try to get out to here if we can. So let's tune in this NDB. Well, that's a helipad. That's not, well, come here. That's a helipad. Oh, that's not an NDB, that's a helipad. Never mind. We're just going to fly out that direction, sort of. And just have a nice long sightseeing trip. Now I can tell that the lights are on. See that really, so whoops, hang on, I did the wrong one. See that subtle change? There you go. Really subtle, and like I said, you might not even notice after YouTube messes with it. But okay, so what are we doing? Enough talking, I guess. I don't have any stories about these islands. I am not a traveled person at all. And my wife hasn't been here, so I can't live through her this time either. So anyway, we're just going to fly around, do some sightseeing. And I'm going to fly by hand. Maybe I'll use autopilot so I can sightsee. No, I'm going to fly by hand while I sightsee. So enjoy the sights and do some research of the area yourselves. And yeah, we will see you in a little bit here. Alright, so what we're going to do essentially is we're going to fly down this fjord right here. So these are like the outer island type things. They're like little fingers. Actually, if you pull up the map, you can get some reference to where we are. So we took off over here. We did our sightseeing here. And these finger island things are right up there. So we're actually going to fly down through here and then come back. And I don't want to get too high though, because I want to be down in the train. So I think what we're going to do is prepare to come down, so throttle's back, that way we maintain our speed but we descend. And then we're just going to fly through that fjord right there, all the way to the other side, which is interesting because on the map it looks huge. In fact, it's off the map, the other side, but from the air you can see the whole thing. So I think that's kind of cool how that works. When you're up so high, how high are we? We are 4,260 feet above sea level, and you know, which is also ground level here. That's pretty crazy. Looking good though. So we're gonna come down. Here we go, just like that. And we're gonna fly the fjord and then gain a little bit of altitude and head back to the airport. So I'm gonna try to fly this by hand while we sightsee. Hopefully it's not too rough. And I'll see you again in a couple minutes. One thing I want to make a note of as we go down into this fjord is, if you look at our altitude, we're 2,040 feet above sea level, which is also ground level, and we're below the train line. So if you think about how tall the skyscrapers are in the United States, being over 1,000 feet, you know, this is double, if not more than that in some cases. That's how high these mountains are. They just don't look like it, because we're in a plane and everything, and we're in a simulator, you know, but just think about what this must look like. So I encourage everybody to to look up some pictures and videos of real life, because that's what I'm going to do when I'm done. But isn't this just crazy? Anyway, let's get our speed back going here and get control of the aircraft, and then more sightseeing. I just wanted to bring that up while we're flying through the fjord. If you call this a fjord. Maybe you don't call it a fjord. I don't know. But it's gorgeous, and it is whatever it's called. Alright, it's time to leave the fjord area, and we're going to try, instead of going around the islands, we're going to try to go over them, because so far the entire flight's been around terrain. So let's try to fly over some terrain and see what that'll look like, just for some variety here. I'll show you in a second on the map what that's going to look like. So let's let the plane climb. The airport's here. There's a nice long approach here. So we're just going to kind of fly across like this. And then once we get closer, we'll come out here. So we have a nice long approach, because we'll be pretty high, right? So we'll need to come down around this mountain probably. So let's just do that. So let's go in this general direction, on top of as much as we can. We probably won't be above those peaks, though. And then we'll come out down here, start coming down, have a nice long approach. And because this is X-plane, we shouldn't bounce. Even if we smash into the ground, we shouldn't bounce. If you've been following the Microsoft simulator videos, after the latest hotfix, everything's bouncing. No matter how smooth and how much experience you have, it bounces. It's been happening to everybody. I've been talking to people on Reddit about it. Not that Reddit is everybody, but it's a good consensus there. So anyway, this should be a smooth landing, no matter how hard we land. So I'm not worried about it. I'm just looking at this cool road going through here. The switchbacks and everything. Alright, enough jibber jabber. Let's get back to some sightseeing, and I'll try to hand fly through this terrain without running into something. It'll make for an exciting video, but let's try not to hit anything. Okie dokie, we're at 5,000 feet and some change, and it's time to start coming down because right around this corner, on the other side of that hill, is the airport where we're going to land. So bring throttles back to start descending, and then we'll come around this corner. We should see the Pappy, and then we'll land. And like I said, I expect the landing to be pretty darn smooth in this thing. But one huge takeaway I have from flying in the simulator again is that it reminds me I really need to check out my sensitivity settings in both simulators. We've talked about before how in real life when you watch a pilot fly, they fight the yoke. Not like aggressively, but they need to work the yoke, right? Where in the simulator you breathe on it or you think about touching it and it does something, which means it's just too sensitive. So I'm going to investigate that with both simulators, especially the rudder pedals. I've heard real life pilots say that even with the sensitivity all the way down, rudder pedals are always too sensitive in a simulator, which I found interesting because I did not know that. The things you learn, especially now that a lot of real life pilots are doing simulators because of COVID, and it's either harder to fly. There's your airport right there. It's either harder to fly or they don't have any reasons to fly, things like that. So a lot of pilots are doing simulators, so a lot of pilot YouTube channels are doing simulators now. And it's interesting to hear them talk about the differences. The biggest consensus among all the videos I watch is that flying a simulator is way more difficult than real life. And I would imagine that's because you are really lacking in your senses, so valuable senses in the simulator, right? You don't get the feel. Mainly you don't get the feel. You don't have sensitivity adjustments or Windows calibration or things like that in real life, right? You get in the plane, there's your yoke. That's what you get. You know what I mean? There are your rudder pedals. That's what you get. Of course, if something is in need to repair, that's different. But you don't have like Windows updates in a real airplane. And well, you do have updates for something, but you know what I mean. You don't have calibration. You don't have sensitivity. You don't have the arcs, and you don't have dead zone. You know what I mean? So you get what you get. I'm sure there are adjustments you can make in real life, but you know what I'm saying, right? Not like every Tuesday if Windows updates or every time there's a patch, you have to fix stuff. Well, okay, I know there are patches for software and ECUs and ECMs, but you know what I mean, I hope. So anyway, enough of that jibber jabber. Let's come in. I think we're in the right spot. Let's pull up the map. Yeah, we're in the right spot. Yep, I see the airport just off to our left. There we go. And we'll be landing there in a moment, so I think I can give you one tiny bit of sightseeing. And then we really got to be in the aircraft because we're going to be between terrain, and sightseeing causes a bad approach, which makes a pretty rough landing. So let's do one more blip of sightseeing, and then we'll land this plane. And there was your blip, and it's time to come down, and we're going fast. So throttles all the way back to descend. And we'll use pitch to control our speed. And once we're in the white arc, we'll get some flaps out. We'll do 2 sets of flaps on this, I think. Although we probably don't need any, to be honest, but we'll use 2 anyway. And then from there, we'll land. And we shouldn't bounce. Even if I smash this into the ground, we shouldn't bounce. So we'll see what happens here. In fact, I've never bounced an X-plane except Taildraggers and the 727. But we won't talk about that right now, will we? Since we are quite a ways away, we're going to keep our speed up for right now. We just need to descend and get 2 and 2 on the Pappy. And then we'll worry about slowing down and getting flaps. Okay, so now it's time to do some stuff. So throttles are back to descend, and then we're going to slow down into the white arc just in a moment. Now, you're not supposed to use flaps as brakes, but a lot of people do. Or they do and they say they're not. So we go for a set of flaps. And we're going to float as expected. That's way more float than the other simulator. Holy cow. Wasn't expecting that much. And second set of flaps. More float. Okay, I was ready for it that time. And pitch down for that speed. Do not look at the cliff. There's actually a cliff there, even though the train is the same color. Do not look at that cliff. Look at the numbers, or else you're going to run into the side of the mountain. Alright, let's pitch down for that speed. Some throttles here. That's very different too. In the other simulator, you can coast with throttles back for like your entire descent. In fact, they train you to do that. But in this simulator, nope, I still have half throttle, just to keep from stalling. That's interesting. Alright, here we go. We are going to come down, and we're going to ride it out here. We're still pretty high. There we go. Throttles back. Let's ride it out. Ride it out. Tease that stall horn. And no ground effects. There we go. I missed the vertical speed on that because I was looking at my attitude, but that's okay. We'll look at back in editing. So there, that landing in the other simulator, we would have bounced like crazy after the latest hotfix. And no ground effects on this, so I was kind of expecting the ground effects, even though I knew better, and there weren't any. So that kept us from getting even smoother, but that's okay. We're not going to worry about it that much. Let's hop out here. Let's get our taxi lights on and get all this other stuff off. There we go, and let's find a parking spot. We can stop the clock as well. 34.5 minutes. How cool is that? Well, how do you reset it? Do you hold it to reset it? No, holding it doesn't do anything. Do you hold this one to reset it? Why won't that reset? Weird. Anyway, I know it can be done. I'm not going to worry about it. Where should we park? Let's go back over here to the bluish hangar, even though I think there's a jet there. Yeah, oh my gosh. Touchy-feely. Everything is touchy-feely. Everything is way too sensitive in the simulator, and I didn't know better this entire time. Well, if I've ever needed an excuse for anything from landing to taxiing, it's because it's too sensitive. Wow. I'm doing like micro motions, and it's just doing all kinds of things. Huh. Good to know, good to know. Alright, let's stop here. Set the parking brake, give up on stopping the clock, turn off everything else, bring back fuel. It'll kill the engine, turn this, well, actually turn off avionics first, and then turn that off. And then turn that off, and then open the door from the floor. Where are you? There you are. Well, I had you. There you go. All right, let's hop outside. All right, so there you go. An X-plane flight. It's been a long time. In fact, it's been even longer for you because I'm 11 days ahead on recording. Somehow. I don't know how that happened. Well, I do know how. I've been up very late at night for many, many nights. Just because of stuff going on in my real life. I need that time to, like, decompress, even if it's at 1 a.m. So that's when I've been flying these flights. So that's why my voice has been raspy, plus allergies. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the flight. I certainly did. If you have your own subscriber request, leave it in the comments below. They need to be shorter though. Not short, I'm like shorter than like 1.5 hour flight time, just because of real life stuff. So if you have a request, leave it in the comments below. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends so we can play the YouTube algorithm game. And that's it. I enjoyed the flight. Hopefully you did too, and I'll see you next time.